Hey, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us for another Twitter space. Um, the date is August 5th, 2022. This is episode number 21 of the ledgerscale Internet of Value Open Forum. Now, the ledgerscale was founded with two goals in mind here. One, we want to provide educational services, not to only our community, but to scale up the number of brains that actually understand how distributed ledger technology works. And two, we intend to, one day we're going to run some hardware to help provide infrastructure support to various distributed ledger technology networks that we believe are ESG friendly in running a form of decentralized consensus. So we host these spaces Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday at 3:30 Eastern. Those are your open forums, and we typically keep them up for around 2 hours, hour and a half maybe. And then on Wednesday, we try to do a focus space from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter and YouTube. And we're going to LinkedIn soon too. We stream the spaces live from Twitter actually to YouTube daily. So like the space right now is on YouTube. If there's folks listening on YouTube, you can come over and communicate with us if you want to on Twitter. And thank you for everyone that watches and subscribes. And then basically the point here, as normal, is to engage the community. So it's important that please, like anybody, if you have a question or something you're thinking about or wondering or curious about, I guarantee you other folks are. So please speak up. And it's an open forum. Just be cordial if you do speak up, and welcome to the space. I'm not sure if Death's going to be joining us today. He's got his son, so he's I think he's going doing fun stuff. Yeah, let me see if I can invite some folks to speak up. I have a feeling that at some point in this chat today, we're going to be talking about Evernode, because I know I've been looking at it. They opened up their public beta. Hey, Tony, you there?
Yeah, Karma, just give me 1 second. I'm just getting a couple things here finished up. I was going to mention really quickly the Voyager thing. So they've been approved to return $270 million to their clients. But didn't they lose like $8 billion?
I don't know. I haven't followed that, man. But normally, if there's a big situation like that, I mean, even if it's public regulated companies, the losses are never as much as. I mean, look at like the Madoff thing. Like, yeah, they did finally recuperate some, but it's pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, because they lost, I think, over 8 point something billion. But now, so out of that 8 point something billion, or people are already going to be getting back 270 million.
Yeah, it's a pennies on the dollar. I mean, that's for some reason that's just how it always goes. But I mean, if you lose all the money, I mean, well, you can't get blood out of a rock, right? Like, I mean, it's what it is. Like, if the money's gone, it's gone. What are you gonna do? Like, split up what's left over is about the best you can do.
Yeah, I wonder how much they still have, though. They got to have more than 270 billion.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know their business model. I know we've talked about it in here, but it's one of those things where it's like I don't do anything with them. I'm assuming that, what are they, an exchange? They're probably doing some sort of leverage. That's usually the story.
3AC. They had a lot of money in 3AC, which went under.
Well, so just a bad investment. Well, then maybe they weren't doing anything wrong. I mean, you can have fund managers that do absolutely nothing wrong and they make a bad investment and they lose everything. I mean, look at even though it turned out good, that movie, what is it, The Big Short with Michael Burry? You know, his investors were threatening to sue him. I think some of them even did because he had made these investments in these swaps on these mortgage-backed securities, and you know, it wasn't going real well for a while, right? Like Buffett has some saying along the lines of like patience is a virtue or something like that. And you know, so he basically, you know, took it on the chin from his investors for a year or two. And then eventually it paid out and he paid out all the investors and they made an absolute killing and he won't manage other people's money anymore. He just manages his own money. Now, I don't blame him. I mean, you know, I don't blame him one bit. And if that's what happened with Voyager and they got taken down because they made a bad investment, you know, then welcome.
Yeah, I forgot how much money they had invested in 3AC that went under, and 3AC went under, I believe, because of Terra Luna.
Oh, see, there's your ripple effect. That's what we almost saw in '08 with the actual financial system globally. I mean, it's why it's not a joke. Like you can start seeing the dominoes fall.
Yeah, I was about to say the domino effect. Well, there was I forgot who it was that said it in the space, but they were talking about at what point are U.S. banks tied up to this?
Well, this is where and why I think the stable coin regulation is probably going to come first because that's, if you think about like the network, that's the connection point to the fiat. Well, you've got two connection points. You've got exchanges, and then these stable coins are like a crypto embodiment of fiat. And how and what backs them is very important. Um, Frankly, if I was a central banker, I would want to make sure that I would regulate stable coins backed by, say, treasury assets in one way, and I would regulate stable coins backed by, say, Bitcoin in another way. Because those are different assets. I mean, the collateral matters. There's just no way around it.
There's also news of some trading platform, WazirX. The Indian government raids director of crypto exchange WazirX freezes $8.1 million. Regulators are probing the trading platform over alleged money laundering on instant loan apps.
Well, they can allege anything.
Well,
That I don't think
so
there's laundering going on in crypto. I'm sure there is. I don't know exactly where or how, but um, the
well, the interesting part of that is CZ from Binance. He acquired WazirX, but now
yeah,
he's claiming that he never acquired them. But there's documents that show otherwise.
yeah, I saw that headline. I don't know. I don't I mean whatever. It doesn't affect. That's more like to me. That's more kind of like news stuff, and not necessarily like how does these markets work stuff. You know, like if you go back to there was a BlackRock thing, like we were talking about the stable coin. There's a BlackRock thing where they want to get into the game, and basically, I think they're going to look at the stable coins backed by treasuries as effectively money markets, which I think that makes sense. Like structurally, like, yeah, they're basically money markets. They're just in a digital network, right? Instead of on like the New York Stock Exchange or something. Yeah, it's well, I don't know what's going on with all that stuff. I figure there's going to be a shakeout. I think we're kind of still in the process of it, but that's okay. That's healthy.
Well, they're not going to be talking about the stablecoin bill that they drafted up until September when they come back from vacation. So maybe a vote in November or October at the earliest.
Who's voting?
Congress.
Oh, for the stable coins?
Yeah, I remember they had a stablecoin bill and they were supposed to talk about it, I think, a couple of weeks ago, but then they delayed it.
Yeah, I figure
So they
some of
delayed it because of the custodial or non-custodial wallets. Janet Yellen is asking to address what she labeled as ghost wallets.
ghost wallets, my ass. Um, the that I mean, we've talked about this 1,000 times in here. I kind of figure. I mean, I kind of figure it's going to be next year. I sort of gave up on Congress doing anything like in a rapid. Like, if I had like a leak in my house, the last person I would call is Congress because they're never going to show up. By the time they show up, I'll have a friggin' flood on my hands, right? Like, they don't move very fast. It's just the nature of the beast. So I don't know. In my head, I've sort of written it off till next year at the earliest. They want to get through these election cycle and see if the Republicans take control, and then that'll change the power dynamics, and then that'll change the negotiations, and then finally they're just going to have to make a decision at some point, right? I mean, at some point they've already done nothing for so long; it's caused damage. So
Right, with
how
everything
much?
that's been going on.
Well, that and just like people just leave the country. I mean, whoop, there goes the innovation. Oh, America, they're the great innovators, right? We attract all the people, yeah, and then we run them off. Like, what's the point of that? I mean, you're sending all these people. I know several. They're either starting businesses or they've literally physically moved or are in the process of moving. I mean, trust me, I've considered moving. I'm actually I'm going to go down to get my passport renewed here soon, like probably next week. Um, yeah, I mean, if you can't do business, then you can't do business. What are you going to do? I mean, I'm doing this ledger scale education stuff because there's no regulatory uncertainty here, but there's things I want to build. I can't do that here, just flat out. Like, and have certainty that I'm not breaking a law that doesn't even exist yet. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, this is just insane. So yeah, I mean, I figure it'll be next year at the earliest. It's obviously become a topic. I mean, look back a couple of years, it wasn't a topic. No one on Capitol Hill was talking about this kind of stuff. So clearly, the process is slowly unfolding. Um, I think the SEC is doing a lot to basically put it at the forefront of folks' minds. So in some sense, these SEC's enforcement actions have actually, in some sense, almost helped speed up the process and like actually help the industry, even though I think they're off base in some cases or in some aspects. But yeah, I mean, still, it's gotten it into the forefront and this is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, so you're not going to ignore it forever. I mean, geez, that just seems crazy. It wouldn't make any sense. I mean, and they want their pile of cash too, right? Like, they want to tax this stuff, and there's got to be rules around that. And there's nothing wrong with taxing it. It's economic behavior. The tax code is an economic based system. So if you
But
make an
but also
economic
the
thing, what's that?
but but it also matters how much they're going to tax it though. Because if you saw India's regulation bill, their taxation on this was over, I think it was like 30%, 35%, but they thought that was good for crypto. However, volume on trading exchanges dropped by over 75%.
Let me ask you
Yeah.
guys this question real quick. Do you guys think that? Hi, by the way, I'm Cliff. I think I came in here the other day. Um, I'm friends with Death Ranger. He's a good dude. But I kind of think like, we see Michael Barr, we see all these people from Ripple being put into the Treasury and the Federal Reserve and the steering committee and all these things. I mean, do you really think this case is just smoke and mirrors? I mean, think about it. The federal government, they act like they're naive about this decentralized technology, but they've been testing this stuff for years. Like they know about this technology. They know what it does, right? I just kind of wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, they've known about it for a lot longer than they've been telling us all this time. But I do think that the case is just, I don't know. I'm not a
It's
big. I
just
mean, it's so
XRP
ridiculous.
and Ripple. Think about. I know this sounds like superstitious, but it's this coin could change everything, and they only have a lawsuit with Ripple and with their use case of XRP. I mean, it's just. Is it a coincidence? I mean,
No, they got
No,
another.
there's no coincidence.
I read a whole thread just before we popped on here, from John Deaton about the library case, and I don't remember exactly all of it. Some of it's legal stuff that I don't fully understand, but basically it was something about the SEC argued that the fact that the token has utility doesn't matter. If anybody thinks that they're going to make an investment return, like the token's going to go up in value, like say because the network grows or something, then it's a security. And the judge even tried to ask him, well, what if 75% of the people are buying it for, I think the term the judge used was consumptive purposes, which that makes sense. I mean, hell, that's why I originally bought XRP. I was testing it.
yeah, and that's everything. That's anything in the space, right? Right.
Well, not anything. Not every network has that aspect. Like Bitcoin has no consumptive purpose. It's just a thing.
Well, just the
Ethereum,
miners. I guess just the miners. Yeah. Right. Right.
but the SEC replied, well, it doesn't matter. If anybody thinks they're making an investment for profit, it's a security. And I mean, I'm sorry, but that's pretty broad thinking. I mean, I get it. They're trying to cast a big net, see if they get any fish, right? But that's pretty broad. And
I could see it fit under the Reeves test. I don't not much of the Howey test because it's hard to understand. This. The Howey test was how long ago, and they're trying to base a new asset class that has nothing to do with the Howey test, then build old rules around it. I think calling something the security that doesn't even fit in that sector is wrong anyway, and that's why I think it's all smoke and mirrors, honestly.
well, they even made some other sort of conflated argument. I mean, John Deaton was putting their quotes in the thread. I should throw it up top. It was a good thread. I'm pretty sure I retweeted it. They said, well, because in the Howey test, the oranges were not the security. The security contract was the real estate contract.
Right. Yep.
So the SEC even said, well, just because the oranges had utility doesn't make the contract not a contract. But see, in the Howey test, there was an actual contract. And I mean, I've sort of made this sort of half flippant joke, but I'm like, well, if I've got an investment contract with Ripple, the company, like, can someone at least give me a copy? Because I never got a copy. Like, I never signed anything. I'm not sure where where is this contract? What are the terms? What does it say?
Hey,
You know,
Karma, can I ask you a quick question? It's on topic regarding the taxes that you mentioned earlier, and
yeah,
I'm not so familiar with the U.S. legislation. But is there a difference in taxation between securities and commodities?
I'm not 100% sure. Honestly, it's a good question. There's capital gains and then there's ordinary income. There's a bunch of different rules that are going to go into determining whether you fall into one or the other. You want to fall into the capital gains tax because at least currently in the U.S. that's only 15%. But let's say you make a reasonable amount of money, your ordinary income is going to probably be up in the 30s. So you
There's
15 and 30. I think those rules would actually probably apply to both commodities and
what also depends on the state.
Well, in my humble
Federal
opinion,
or state?
in my humble opinion, if there is or if they will create a difference in taxation between commodities and securities, and they can say change that every year, wouldn't that be the lever that they would need to balance out proof of work versus proof of stake?
So
well,
from what I'm seeing right here is it says commodities have a slightly more preferential tax treatment. With commodities, 60% of the gains are treated as long-term capital gains and 40% are treated as short-term capital gains, regardless of how long you've held the contracts. I don't think
see,
securities would fall under that though. That's
Is that
commodities.
federal, Tony? Is that for every state?
Yeah, that's federal.
Okay.
But then that's why I was saying it also depends on the state you're in. Like California, they want to rob you blind, so I think it's an extra 11 or 12%.
yeah, you got state taxes on top of it, but the federal level it starts there. So that's pretty interesting. I didn't know that. See, the difference is short-term capital gains are paid at the ordinary income tax rate. Long-term capital gains, you get the 15%.
So basically, any state that would not tax crypto assets would probably become the most popular state to attract all the talent and actually gain the taxation through income tax.
Yeah, Puerto Rico's doing that.
All right.
They're
And
already.
what about Wyoming and Phoenix? Do you know anything about that area too, perhaps?
Not really. I know Wyoming for some reason is a little bit ahead of they're a little bit of a precedent setter or pioneer
Yeah.
in setting laws around crypto. And I think they're trying to set up a framework and a way of approaching this that maybe the federal government can even copy or to some degree in other states as well. Because you're probably
Yeah,
going to have every state
they
pass
seem to
some.
have a blockchain association in Wyoming. Someone running that.
Yeah,
I don't know his name right now,
I
but I
actually
could look it
think
up.
that Wyoming actually signed Telcoin. I don't hold any Telcoin, but I think they actually signed Telcoin into law, like for to be a bank. I'm pretty sure if you could do
Yeah,
But
something.
they also appro- oh,
that
sorry.
never went anywhere. I mean, I don't know what happened to it, but that never went anywhere. I
No,
think
oh, I thought the
because
votes
Talcoin didn't
were. I
offer
thought
any
they
updates
voted.
on that.
Gotcha. I saw that they voted for it and the votes went through. I just honestly didn't keep up after that. Honestly.
Hey, I
Well,
have a sorry, I have a question about the case real quick. Just to, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
Hey,
good.
let me say
okay.
one thing real quick though. I'm
Oh yeah,
pretty
go
sure
ahead.
Ripple actually, after Wyoming made some laws, I'm pretty sure Ripple moved a legal entity to Wyoming.
Oh, that's dope. Send me a link on that if you got it.
Okay, let me see if I can find something. Bill, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to wrap that point up. But yeah, go for it.
Oh yeah, so because I've been seeing the case for a while, and I mean my opinion on it. is I don't feel this case goes further than when the SEC actually has to hand those emails over. Like I always said that I don't care what the legal process is at this point. Whenever the SEC has to hand those emails over, it's over. My opinion. I think that's settlement.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't think it's
my,
going to summary judgment. I think it'll. Yeah, I don't see it. For me
yeah,
personally.
they just been too protective of those emails for so long. Um, I feel there has to be something detrimental to their case. The second thing I do see as well that I'm not so sure of. Maybe I could ask one of the attorneys, but is there still, because I hear like, well, okay, settlement, summary judgment means clarity for the whole crypto space, but isn't there a scenario that only XRP, that they, in settlement negotiations, they can declare only XRP clarity and still give reign of the SEC to do whatever it is they want to do with other cryptos?
Yeah,
Uh,
I that's my opinion is you're exactly right. I think through the settlement there's going to be clarity involved because they're not going to obviously they're not going to settle without, having some like, okay, so what are the rules now? For years that Ripple has tried to meet with the SEC about trying to make clear guidelines and regulation for, you know, how to approach this space and build innovation. So yeah, I think you're exactly right on that.
yeah, I just don't. I mean, and that's a scenario I don't want, because I really would like to see every protocol flourish, but I just feel like the SEC, if Ripple can make it so that XRP, if the only thing is, oh, XRP will give you clarity, but we're not going to give that to anyone else.
No.
Or
What I'm saying is like, no. I think Ripple they wanted to give not only clear guidelines for XRP, but I think for the whole space, right? But honestly, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna just give clear guidelines just for them and give them space, or just for the whole space. But I think, yeah, I think somebody had said it before. This is going to be the Ripple test for the whole space, right? Like this will pretty much nail down what kind of how you got to approach coming into the space and how to build.
but do you think if the SEC, if they're standing on that, well, I guess they could do it for, because I'm just scared that they might, because I kept hearing it. I don't know if I heard it from John Deaton or Hogan, where I'm afraid of that. Okay, well, we'll, with these negotiations, we'll give you your clarity, we'll give it to you, among maybe reduce the fines or whatever, but it's only going to be towards you. That's what and here's going to be the guy. We're not going to reveal those emails either, so those emails, we ain't gonna do that. um
Yeah, there could be a case that the tokens that the Ripple founders got were securities,
yeah.
but the investors no, because but the reality is Ripple got got bought XRP at fair value, right? It's not like they what do you get at fair value? It's nothing. What do you buy something at a price that there's no value at yet? It's nothing. So I mean, it's not like they did it schemingly, and they could say that because the founders obviously are the founders of Ripple, right? The creators of the XRP ledger.
Originally, it wasn't worth anything, and you could get it
Exactly,
for free. You
exactly.
could get it for free. Like,
Yes.
I mean, they just wanted people to play with the network and play with the system and see, just see how it play with, like, see if you can break it, make it do something. Like, that wasn't the versus when Ethereum started. It totally had the feeling of like a security issuance, and
Oh
I
yeah.
I didn't have any problems uh, buying some XRP and seeing if this thing could actually do, because I didn't believe it, to be honest, and to see if this thing could actually do what they were, what it was proclaimed to do. And
I
I
like
mean,
how David Schwartz said it. Like it was they really created it to make it be a better Bitcoin, right? And how convenient, because him and Arthur Brito and Jed were Bitcoin developers on the ledger, So it's like I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracy around that, but we won't go there.
can you? I mean, seriously, even if you call the And by the way, for whoever asked, I threw the Wyoming state registration for Ripple's entity up top. But how can you call something a security if I get it for free? Right? Where's my investment? That's one of the prongs of the Howey test.
And how can you, because Ripple used XRP to fund their business, so how can you use a security as a currency to fund your business? Exactly, and that's why FinCEN, when was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it 2014 that they issued XRP and slapped them with a what is it? A virtual currency.
It's either 14 or 15.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
they put out some, which I should probably reread this. They put out some guidance, not laws, and there was like 4 aspects to it. They had like a digital currency was one aspect. Then there was like I think there was something effectively for an exchange, like a digital currency exchange. And then there was a
Stable coin, right?
no, those didn't exist at the time. There was a digital something like a platform, right, where they were trying to provide some of the rules about platforms and stuff. I mean, like I've had to look at this for my other business. And those are substantial rules. Like Facebook gets away with a lot because of those rules. And I think then there was like a digital currency network. It wasn't perfect, but it was actually pretty reasonable. And then they hit them with what I think a 750K fine. You know, so but that's the only. This is one
Okay,
of the
so
things I have regarding the lawsuit because FinCEN is the intelligence department of the Treasury Department, and I'm pretty sure the Treasury Department is superior to the SEC. So if the Treasury,
well, I'm not, I'm not. Sorry, I'm not paying too much attention to the case because I think it's just a massive distraction. But one thing I know is that they are arguing that you received or they received the XRP in the with the thought of it, you know, making profits off it, whether it was free or not. That's their argument, the SEC's argument. Again, I'm
Right,
not
but how
caring
can
about the
you
case.
use a security to fund something? That's the whole thing, right?
well, that's the
How do
purpose
you?
of a
Well,
security.
they're
If
saying
you
the
go in,
the assets of security itself as well.
That's what
what
I
the
mean.
what
How
they
but
did,
Ripple is a centralized entity using a security that doesn't make any sense, right? If you think about it.
no, that's what securities are used for, is for um, um, capital formation. I mean, that's why you like sell stock in your company to like say a seed investor or something. I mean, that's why Ripple did exactly that. It's
No,
called a
but
reg.
that's like no, you're right, but that's like Ripple selling Ripple stock for their company. But I'm talking about XRP, which has nothing to do with Ripple. See what I'm saying?
Well, that's why I think the SEC's got themselves in a conundrum. I mean, the
Yes,
SEC, Ripple
exactly.
has had, you can go look up on the Edgar system with SEC, and Ripple's had Reg D filings. That's what you do for like private equity type stuff. Um, they've had Reg D filings from back way the hell from the beginning because they raised venture capital. I mean, Google was some of the first money in. There was a couple other big name investors. This is one of the things when I first stumbled into this. I was like, hold on a second. And I've done the private equity stuff, and not a
Right.
lot, but
But you think
like
about it,
you don't just
like
see Google freaking investing in your company. It doesn't happen. I'm sorry, it just doesn't
right,
happen.
right.
It's
But
hard.
but think about it. Let's say Ripple came out in an IPO, right, and they came out as a company. Yeah, I get it if they were to use their Ripple shares, right? But I mean, but they're using XRP, which was created before Ripple, the company, was even an entity, and it's a totally decentralized ledger, so that has nothing to do with the company. They just bought it at fair value, right? That's why, like you're saying, the SEC they have no case here.
No, I okay. So that argument was made for quite some time in the community, and then John Deaton smacked it down, and he said, "Doesn't matter." And I forget what the legal rationale, but for legal reasons, that wouldn't matter. If they're going to call XRP a security, then it doesn't matter that it was sold from a different entity, because I think it was, what was it, OpenCoin or something originally, and then it was Ripple Labs, and then they changed it to Ripple, and watch, they'll probably change it to something else. I mean, even Facebook with all its brand recognition, they want to change themselves to what do they want to change themselves to? Metaverse or something? Is that what it was? I don't know.
Yeah,
Meta.
Yeah, I mean, it's just silly, but it's the same. That. I think it was because it's the that wouldn't legally be relevant, basically. Still true, but not legally relevant, apparently, according to John Deaton. I don't know.
gotcha.
Also, going back to the whole tax thing, there's do you guys trade? Because there's a trader tax status that you can get, and it gives you more benefits.
Yo, send me a DM for sure, dude. What are you saying? Like they have tax benefits for like specific day traders or something?
For trade, yeah. So to qualify for traders tax status, you must be a full-time trader whose work is considered a business. If you trade via stock app for a few hours a day, it's likely that the IRS will consider you an investor, not a trader. And it goes on here. It says, with a trader tax status, you can claim your losses and any business expenses as ordinary losses, and they can be deducted directly from your income. Also, the losses are not subject to the maximum $3,000 on capital losses. Go ahead, Carl.
That falls in line with, okay, let's flip over to real estate, but let's take that concept you just said there. It becomes I think it's 35 properties a year. Like if you sell 35 properties a year, not as a broker, as like an owner, then you become qualified as a dealer. And actually, you don't want to do that, because then you lose capital gains status and it goes and becomes ordinary income because you're running a business, right? So you're like more of like a developer, right? So you're building out a neighborhood and you're selling, 40, 50 homes a year. That's your business, right? And so you do get the advantages of deductions, but you pay a higher, it becomes ordinary income tax instead of capital gains.
Yeah, it looks really complicated. I'm reading this article and it's going into specifics of taxes for futures, commodities, um, when you lose, how much. Um, so, yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
there's a lot of
interesting.
info there.
There's benefits, unfortunately, I know about, called, you know what NOLC is? Hopefully that's a good thing. It's net
No, no,
operating.
I don't know that.
It's net operating loss carry forward. So like, let's say I run a business and I lost a bunch of money this year. Okay, like let's look at COVID. Like that was not a happy thing for me anyway. Financially. Or actually when I got sick. But anyway. But so you can take that carry forward, I think for what, 3 or 5 years or something. I don't remember. But then let's say I make a bunch of money next year. Okay, so let's say I lost 100 grand this year on operations expenses and whatever. Next year, let's say I make like 250. All right. Well, I only I get to write off the 100 that I lost the year before can counterweight the 250. So now I'm only paying tax on 150. That makes sense?
Okay, yeah, I understand that part.
Yeah, but if you're an investor, and if you can only do that if you're a business, if you're like an operator or a dealer in the real estate world, if you're or I guess you'd probably call it like a market maker or something in the crypto world.
No, that's
If
similar to the taxes how I pay also on my taxes. I mean, I don't know, honestly, I don't know too much how it works. I just give it to my CPA, but That's one time he was explaining it to me, and I think that's similar to what you were just saying.
Yeah, I just give it to the CPA. Dude, tax class. We had one major group project, and I just let everybody else do that stuff. I that is not my gig. I did the accounting that the accountants hate, because you actually have to think. There's no like
I mean,
tax
I
code
wanted to, yeah,
to
I
do.
wanted to see exactly because I mean, I want to know exactly how much I'm paying, why I'm paying that amount, and all that. So I was interested in knowing how much. So they explained it to me one time, but I'm still not going to do my taxes, dude. I just give it to my CPA.
Yeah, I mean, no.
It's really complicated, and I have to do quarterly taxes.
Well,
So
and they
no fun.
change the rules all the time. So even if you do think you know what you're talking about, all of a sudden the rules change. Now you don't know what you're talking about again. Like, I mean, that's why it's a profession, right? I mean, that's your job, man, Mr. CPA. I'm not doing that. I've got a good CPA, actually. But
Yeah, I got a good one also. He used to work for the auditing department in the Federal Reserve.
oh well. My guy just works with a bunch of like,
People always tell me, they're like, "You pay how much for your CPA?" I'm like, "It's worth it. It's well worth it, man."
oh yeah. I mean, he's not the cheapest CPA, that's for sure. But
I'm telling you, Karma. I went to one that was cheap. How everybody is paying, like the rate that everybody else pays. So I went to one of my friends' CPA, and they told me, okay, you're gonna have to pay this amount, and I'm like, yeah, that seems a lot. So I contacted someone else who has gas stations as their business. They have like over 15 gas stations, and then that this was the guy that was doing their taxes, and then he told me, so at the end I had to pay 1/7 of what the other CPA told me I had to pay.
well, it's not just that. You need it done right. And when
Oh,
you
of
get
course, yeah. I mean, like I had audited, and yeah, dude, like it was done like that. Then I got a letter from the IRS one time, and then they said, "Oh, you owe an extra." It was a really significant amount, and then I just gave it to him, and within about less than a month, like, I get a letter back from the IRS, and it says, "You now owe $0." So he's
yeah.
doing it right.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between like if you just have W-2 income, that's one thing. That's easy. TurboTax or online, whatever is fine. You start doing businesses and stuff, and then there's all these other rules and stuff. Like, I, yeah, I just send it to him. And actually, the problem now, I haven't gotten my taxes done this year. This is one of my things on my plate. But part of it is because the freaking bank, they changed their back end system. Thank goodness. My tech partner is friends with the CIO of the bank, and but we still haven't gotten the CPA, because they changed their system, and the new system, it doesn't have all the bank statements. So you know the QuickBooks is connected to the bank account, so it just pulls all that stuff down. But there was a password change, so QuickBooks didn't get the thing when the bank changed their system over. Now they don't even have a full 12 months worth of bank records. So the CPA is like, well, you know, I can't. I got to have all the accounting record, like the bank statements and everything in the system to do. I mean, it's a simple couple click button thing for him. With QuickBooks, it's super easy. And but the information, the bank statements aren't there, right? Because we can't get them from the bank. So I don't. I mean, eventually, I'm sure that'll work itself out. But yeah, it's really rather annoying. I mean, you would. It's. I'm pretty sure somebody probably got fired from that bank because they screwed it up big time when they did their system changeover. I mean, I couldn't even log into my bank for what, a month. I literally had to drive down the road and go like into the bank to just see
Oh
like how.
hell no, dude! I'd be
Yeah.
so pissed off.
Oh, they screwed it up. I mean, they screwed it up. They screwed it up royal, big time, and it's still not even fully unscrewed. I mean, like literally, I can't get the bank statements to give to the CPA. Well, I don't. He doesn't want the statements. We need QuickBooks to download it. He's like, if you can just get the statements, then I can sort of manually do it. And I'm just sitting here going, okay, this is going to take how many hours, right? Like there goes my bill. Um, it's a disaster. Just a royal screw up.
Hey, I had a quick question about CBDCs. Like I was thinking the other day, I think I was watching uh, Quincy. He's a developer on the XDC uh, blockchain. I heard him talking about like ERC20 tokens and how they're built upon the Ethereum um, blockchain, and then he kind of flipped it and talked about CBDCs being built upon the XRP ledger, and I'm thinking about these billion-dollar projects that are built upon the Ethereum ledger or the Ethereum blockchain, and think about like a country's currency like is going to be in the trillions. Obviously, I'm like thinking about all these CBDCs being built upon a ledger where there's like trillions of dollars, right? Like, but first you have to like you can mint any token on a blockchain, um, and there could be no value, right? But you would first have to buy the underlying token to create value in that issue token. See what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Say the last part again. What's the
So,
where does
so you know how you use Ethereum to buy the issue tokens on Ethereum, right?
yeah.
So same with the XRP ledger, and I think that's what. So when trillions of dollars are in CBDCs, you have to first buy the XRP to create value in the issue token, and that's what he was kind of explaining in the video. It made a lot of sense, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, and I think about all these CBDCs, like they're not going to be building upon 10 different blockchains. Like, no, they want something fast, quick, and sufficient, right? Like XLM.
There's also the factor, in addition to what you said, which is correct. There's also the factor that there's benefit to having things on the same network. So like, let's say you got, I don't know, USD, Euro, and Yen CBDCs. Like, let's say they trade on XRP Ledger. I don't know, pick one. It doesn't matter. XDC, whatever. It doesn't matter. But the fact is that if I'm, say, the finance minister of Trinidad Tobago, right? Like, what am I going to do? Go off to this other network? That's ridiculous. Like, no, I want to be sitting right there so that my money and my citizens and the businesses that operate in my jurisdiction can do business easily on the same network with all this is. So there's a thing that folks don't always realize. This is one of the troubles with antitrust regulation and the networking business. It's probably going to unfold over the next couple of years as they want to start regulating the big tech, because networks are inherently monopolistic, right? I mean, think about, let's go to a telephone network. So if you got one telephone network where it connects to 5 people, that's useful, right? That's cool. Now let's say you got another telephone network that connects to 5 million people. Well, that's a lot cooler, right? So how many people are going to choose to join the 5 network person? I mean, these same dynamics. Look at when Google tried to unseat Facebook and they spun up their what was their social network? I mean, we're talking about freaking Google here, okay? It's not like they don't have the brains and the people power and the resources, like the financial power. So they tried to unseat Facebook, but it was too late. The network aspects had already unfolded, and obviously Google failed. I mean, they tried. I forget what the hell that was called. They tried though, but just the dynamics doesn't allow it. So when you get this like antitrust law stuff, and they're going to try and go after these big techs like Facebook, Google, etc. And I think there's things that probably should be fixed with the way that those companies are allowed to operate. But one of them is the platform thing we were talking about a minute ago, and that the FinCEN put into it was one of the 4 things they said after the Ripple ruling, and then they did their guidance. But I'm afraid that some of that, it's like when they broke up Ma Bell. Does anybody remember that or have any clue what I'm talking about?
No, I'm trying to understand trying to like explain from what I said. I'm trying to understand the connection there. Uh, like I'm talking like on the ledger, right? So let's say you want to issue a Mexican peso or a U.S. or a Fed coin on the XRP ledger. You would have to first buy the underlying token to first create value and issue, or to create value for that CBDC that's issued on the blockchain. That's what I'm asking. And I think Quincy Jones, like I was telling you, he works as a dev on the XDC blockchain. He kind of explained it one of his videos, like you buy Ethereum first before you buy the underlying token, like that. And that's what. So imagine trillions of dollars in CBDCs, but you would have to first use those trillions of dollars to buy the underlying asset, XRP.
Well, no, I understand that. I don't think that, and I've talked to Quincy. He's a great guy. I really like him. Actually, I want to have him on one of the chats one time. I've asked him about that. I should probably go back.
The kid's a genius. It's crazy, man.
Well, he's great. He's great. Totally, yeah. But the difference there would be, well, there's 2 aspects. One, you've got the CBDCs are going to be on side chains. I don't think it's likely that CBDCs are going to be like issued assets on XRP Ledger. Now, there might be an intermediary that's like a licensed bank or something, and they have, because like you and I are not going to likely have access to the CBDC side chain.
Well, right. That's X Current, right? They have Ripple has different products. So X Current is for banks to send their own token on their ledger, right? You don't need XRP, right? But I don't think banks like to hold other countries' currencies, and I think that's why they have XRapid, or what's called, ODL, right? They issue for, they don't need Nostro Vostro accounts now. They can just tap into their ODL and in their escrow and take what they need, right? That's the difference. Yeah, I understand. They like on X Current, it's different, but I think once, like I like how Brad Garlinghouse says it, like once the market is at that point, like that's when I think they'll go there. At least that's the goal for Ripple as a company.
Well, you got 2 different aspects here. One, the CBDCs will be on the side chains. In all likelihood, only licensed banking regulated institutions will have access to
private
that
ledger. Yes, the private ledger, correct. Yep.
Then you've got your public marketplace. Okay, now this is a role the XRP ledger could play. Right? So if you start to, I'm just going to kind of reiterate what I said a minute ago. If you start having, and this isn't reality yet, hopefully it becomes reality. I think it'd be cool. It seems to be makes the most. I mean, there's other options too, I guess, but it seems to make the most sense to me. If you start having a bunch of central banks putting their connecting their private CBDC ledgers to a specific network, we'll go with XRP ledger in this case, then you're gonna see it's the same thing. Like, okay, now central bank number 50 wants to join this network. What is he gonna, like, not join the network where like all the other 49 assets are traded? I mean, is he even gonna join his own, start up his own network? Like, come on. I mean, you get realistic. It's what, I mean, go back to the Facebook Google thing. Like, Google could not, these market dynamics are so, you can't, not even Google could undo it, right? With all the brain power and resources, not even they could fight these dynamics successfully anyway. They tried.
Yeah, but Google wasn't partnered with over 250 central banks, right? I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying, absolutely. But I mean, we know what's going behind the scenes here, right? With Ripple and XRP, and I don't think they just create these products just for. Oh, hold on, someone's banging on the house next door. What the hell? Hold on a second. What was I saying? Yeah, so like like I think they created these products because they're actually going to be used, right? I mean, and that's kind of how, like I talked about how proof of work and proof of stake, like you were talking earlier, like that's, I don't, there's more incentive for, the miners or their stakers in proof of work and proof of stake. But I think I like proof of consensus so much because that's truly trustless. I mean, think about it. There's no incentive for holding a node on the XRP ledger, right? And like there's absolutely no incentive. And I think when banks hold these nodes, like, and you probably know as far as everybody in here, the SEC even holds a node. I don't know if you knew that, but so all these banks, like, they're going to be using X current, right, for their cross-border payments, but I think they're going to use X rapid or the ODL for their, to get rid of their Nostro Vostro accounts. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're both of their products provide different services to banks, but their main, I think, objective is, right, the banks. It's not, somebody said in an interview before, like, XRP, yeah, it's not going to be used to buy a cup of coffee. Like, yeah, it could be, but I think the main purpose is for, strictly cross-border banks and payments and ODL services.
I think it's going to be one of these under the hood things that, your mom never knows exists, but she uses it every day.
Right. Like exactly. Like if I want to send right now, I got Chase Bank. You're exactly correct. Like I want to send money to somebody in whatever, Spain or whatever, right? Like the technology behind it, like it's going to be like before, but it's going to be faster and cheaper, but we're not going to see it happening, right? It's all going to be behind the scenes. I agree. Yeah.
This is why, I don't know whoever brought up that IRS thing earlier, but that's probably actually pretty important, because then that could affect the way the banks are taxed and the market makers are taxed. I mean, that's going to matter.
Yeah. It's just easier. That's really going to be the only difference. Is they're all going to be behind the scenes, like you're saying, but it's really not going to change for us in a sense. Yeah, I agree. But what do you think? I mean, think about the end game, right? Like, what do you think? Honestly, like, I don't hear really many people talking about it. What's going to be the end game for, for the holders of XRP? Like, are we going to be able to hold this, or let's say under the Reeves test, it's qualified as a note, right? And it's only held by the central banks and the Fed. I mean, how do you think it's going to play out with the asset itself being used, not only for the individual but for the central bank?
Oh, my cat just brought a cicada in here. That's nice. I don't know what other people, everybody makes their own decisions, right? But for me, I'm kind of just hanging out, waiting, which I figured, and it's starting to come into light. I figured years ago, eventually we would be able to earn, don't bring it. I figured we would be able to earn a cash flow stream based off of just think of XRP as capital. Okay. It's not insane to think you could earn some interest on your capital. This has been going on forever. So that's kind of what I think, or at least what I'm eyeballing.
Like passive income, you're saying, just,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I don't need to sell the capital asset. I'll just keep the house and rent it, right? I'll be happy with the rent, and
Right. But what I'm
thanks.
saying is, let's say it's so you think it's going to be deemed, because if it's deemed a note under the Reeves test, right, and not a security, then individual people like me and you can't hold it, right? It's like I said, it's notes are only held by the Fed and the central bank. So in that case, like, I mean, like, it's all skeptical.
If you
It's
don't have
all
access
speculation.
if you don't have access to the Fed's balance sheet, you're not gonna. I mean, you can buy it in the secondary markets, maybe, but like, I think there's only 5 or 7 primary dealers that have direct access to the Fed, and they distribute out through the secondary markets all of the bonds and treasury bills and all this stuff. I mean, it's like your JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, these kinds of. There's only a couple though. Here,
Right. So you're saying, like, right, even right now, like, we know Ripple isn't selling any XRP on the secondary market. They haven't since 2019. I mean, so you're saying it's really the individual retail holders who are selling on the secondary market, because, I mean, these banks and institutions, if this asset is going to be used for cross-border payments, then obviously they're going to buy as many as they can on the secondary market for to be held in escrow or on the private ledger, right?
I mean, they cannot change it really, like in the sense of they have no access to it. Like, it doesn't matter what is going to be deemed, personally, because first of all, like, the world is not only the US, right? And whatever they decide there, if I'm in South Korea, whatever, like, I don't care, and I can still process my transactions, and somebody can sell me XRP, or I can, and whatever.
Right.
The nodes cannot prevent this. Like, none of the validators can prevent this, really.
Well,
now my
either
cat brought in a pair of goggles. What the hell? And by the
What?
way, I'm dead wrong. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, literally, sandy swimming goggles. Oh, the cicadas on it. That's why. Anyway, apparently I was wrong. Looks like there's more like 20, maybe 25, 30 primary dealers.
well, I'm what's your name? Vet. Yeah, I think it was you, Vet. So you're saying it doesn't matter what it's deemed, right? So what's that mean for the average investor like me and you? Like, wouldn't that really have an impact on us holding the asset or using it, like Karma's saying, for like future passive income, let's say on the Flare network via whatnot?
For the future holder or investor or whatever you want to call it, it just means, in my opinion, that you will have the same access to this ledger and to the tokens than, let's say, the central banks or whatever, or whoever will use it later on. And depending also on the asset, like, if I'm a bank, maybe I don't want really own XRP, but I want to, at a point in time, I want to buy something from the market and transact with it, if I want to transfer value or whatever. But holding these assets, I don't know what's the volatility going to be in 5 or 10 years, in that sense. But we have, for example, the automated market maker, we have NFTs on the XRPL, like, and all these efforts doesn't scream for me, oh no, we want actually push out the retail investor. It actually screams for me like, we want them in, right? We want the people to use it, actually. But as Karma also said, is correctly, and you, not everyone will basically interact with the ledger the same way the enthusiasts or we gonna do, right? I mean, I compare this with the oil field people, maybe, like, some people that are really deep into that, and but if I'm just gonna go and put some gas into my car, like, I don't care what's gonna be behind, like, how it's gonna be brought up there and whatever, Well,
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
But private chains or side chains or whatever is for me a good opportunity that they opened up for everyone, not them, but for everyone who seeks to have more privacy, or more control. Like if I say, yeah, the public ledger is cool and fun and everything, but like I have like 6 banks here, and we just want to offer services just between each other, and we're going to opt in for a sidechain, and whoever wants to leave our services or the ecosystem can do that, right, under our policies, because they're going to be validators or federators in that sidechain. But yeah.
Well, look at hooks, right? Doesn't isn't that up and running on a side chain? It's not on mainnet. I don't even think it's on the test net.
It's testnet.
Oh,
So
it's testnet now?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Pathways too, right? Or is it? Yeah, obviously Pathways are currently in testnet.
You talking about pathfinding?
Sorry, yeah, pathfinding. Honestly, that's probably the most interesting thing to me. One of the most interesting things to me, like you could just send like XRP and Bitcoin, right? If you want to transfer that, like that's kind of insane how it can go through a bunch of different assets or commodities before it reaches that destination.
I'm pretty sure if you go to the YouTube channel, we did a focused chat on pathfinding. And I agree with you. I think it's really, really, it's the routing function.
It's unbelievable. It's literally the internet of value in I guess one word, pathfinding, if you want to like condense it.
Well, I don't know if I'd say it's the internet of value because it's contained within a single network, the XRP ledger.
Well,
Internet
right,
of value.
but it connects all value, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a super powerful. I mean, it's the routing thing. You couldn't have the internet without routing. It's just not possible. And it performs that function. I mean, it's absolutely critical. It's one of the most impressive things. It's one of the biggest criticisms I make with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin only has Bitcoin. So what is there to route? Nothing.
Facts.
There's not even 2 units of value to route back and forth like you could do with, say, an AMM, right? At least with an AMM, you've got 2 units of value, this one and that one, versus, with XRP Ledger, you've got the DEX, which effectively is powered by the pathfinding, and you can have as many freaking units of value as you can possibly imagine.
I love how it's all built into the ledger. That's probably what separates it, is, like it's separate from Ethereum in that sense, like in all these other chains, like everything's all built into the ledger. Like talk about security,
Absolutely correct.
And how much downtime? I mean, do people, oh my God, it kills me, man. It kills me. Like we all invested in these other projects. I get it, but like, damn, like.
Well, who first heard? This is why I try and keep some of the. This is why we don't talk price. Let's keep the conversation on how do the tools work, and then what can you build with the tools, right? And this is why when Matt was the first guy, Matt Hamilton, who I heard make that point you just said, and it had just never occurred to me. And as soon as he said it, I was like, it's a really good point, right? Like let's say we're on Ethereum, okay? And I want to build karma coverage. And I need DEX as like a dependency, right? Like, so you run a DEX smart contract on Ethereum. So now I have to go take my time and money and resources and analyze your code, right? Because if I'm going to depend on it, like I need to know it's good and that the DEX works, right? And that's just a giant waste of time and resources versus, you just go to the XRP ledger and you do the same thing, and I can run my smart contract on like a side chain or whatever. And hooks is coming along. That's going to enable all kinds of stuff. Evernode, that's going to enable all kinds of stuff. Flare, that's going to enable all kinds of stuff. I mean, all these dominoes are getting stacked up. Like it's only a matter of time before it's a castle and not a sandhill. And I don't have to review your code. I just go do the thing on the XRP ledger, and there's a DEX there, and hey, look, cool. And it's just like a given. Like I don't have to worry about it. It's the native functionality, I guess, versus having to like imagine like stacking a bunch of Ethereum smart contracts into your business logic. It sounds like a nightmare. Honestly. I mean, there's so many vulnerabilities, attack vectors, potential logic screw ups. Oh my goodness. I mean, and I think Flare's kind of splitting the difference, right? So Flare's kind of got the EVM stuff, but they also have a lot of functionality that's native to the ledger. So you don't have to question like the FTSO and the pricing oracle stuff. You know, if I want to go build a smart contract on the damn this stupid cat, get out of here, bringing this cicada in here. If I want to build a smart contract that say does something between 2 or 3 different tokens, well, I don't have to worry about, you know, making sure that either I centrally, which would be undesirable in crypto, provide the price feed, right? I can use the FTSO price feed and I don't have to worry about it. I can just use it. It just makes things easier. So Flare's kind of like halfway between like XRP and Ethereum, or XRP Ledger and Ethereum. If that makes any sense. I don't know.
Was Flare issued on the XRPL, correct?
What's that?
Was the token built upon the XRP Ledger Flare? Is that right? Or is it a fork of something? I honestly haven't done the research on that.
Oh no, it's its entire own network.
Gotcha.
I don't think it's out yet. Songbird is out, and you can play with that. That's fun.
Yeah, I've played around with Songbird before. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. That's about the best you can do at this point, unless you want to really get into it. But I'm not capable of that.
Do you play around with it at all?
What's that?
Do you mess around with that? Or are you just mainly on the XRPL?
No, I've got several things. And I play around with basically if somebody comes up with something and it seems to be interesting, then I'll take a look, and unfortunately most people lose my interest rather quick. You know, I've messed with Flare, Songbird, Flare Finance. I've messed with Ethereum. That was a debacle. I'm still not even done with it. Got to
Carm, are
sell.
you buying the
What's the
IOUs
difference
for
between
Songbird?
Flare? I'm sorry.
I've never. What did you say?
Who, me or Cliff?
I don't know. Whoever it was that I couldn't hear.
Yeah, go
Well,
ahead, Tony.
Cliff is cutting off a little bit, but I just asked quickly if you're buying the IOUs on Songbird on BitTrue.
I don't really want to give investment advice, even though I'm not licensed. So, but I mean, I have made some suggestions to my mother, if that tells you anything.
Got it. All good. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it is what it is. I think we've talked about this 1,000 times in here, and I was looking at some of the Evernote stuff today. That's really piquing my interest. They're open to public beta now. Get the damn thing out of here! Why, cat? Hey, get. Anyway, that's really going to be a big thing if I'm understanding it right. It certainly got my interest piqued. I can see it as a little bit of a evolution of Codius, which was the original smart contracts platform before Ethereum. In fact, I'm pretty sure Ethereum got the idea from Codius, but the Evernote, the more I look at it, I've had to look at it a couple times because, I mean, the first few times I looked at it, I didn't click. And I was like, okay, this smells like it's probably a reasonably good project. I like the approach these guys are using. I like the way they're thinking. But, I'm really not sure I understand what they just said. And not that what they said didn't make sense, but, like I couldn't turn around and explain that to somebody. That kind of thing. And
They got the hot pocket consensus protocol, right?
yeah, that's part of it. And see, I don't even know if I could explain that. It's like when they explain it, I understand it, but then I don't think I could explain it. It's one of those things. Lena, you got your hand up there?
Hi. Can I ask a question? May I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I'm being really lazy in my research, and I'm trying to learn XRP. Just listening to you, basically, is XRP providing a new set of functionality that would replace Swift or um, look like Swift, just blockchain version? Am I
Well,
close?
it wouldn't look like Swift. The
No,
network
it
is
doesn't look not that it
different.
looks like today. Yes.
But I think that, I mean, they've kind of been open about the fact that there's aspects that like RippleNet can, I mean, with the Internet of Value, basically, RippleNet, XRP Ledger, all the other ledgers, Flare, Evernote,
So they're
Ethereum.
plumbing. They're plumbing, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
plumbing to yeah. In the industry, that's plumbing.
It's infrastructure.
Infrastructure fair, but with plumbing. Yeah. So
Well,
I
I mean,
just I found hold on. I found a quote though that was really interesting because while I'm listening in, I read. MasterCard CEO quoted as saying, and then they had to, of course, back down or fix the statement. He does not expect SWIFT, one of the most widely used platforms for cross-border fiat transactions, to exist in 5 years' time. So what that tells me is that they're very aware of what's going on, and maybe this whole case, and I haven't followed it all, is just to give them time to sort themselves out and protect Swift.
well, I mean, we're 10 years into this already.
Is
So,
this going on 10 years?
oh yeah, it's 10 years.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm new to blockchain. My apologies. 10 years, shit.
Oh yeah, this didn't like happen overnight.
Oh God, so that means there's no way it's just going to easily resolve tomorrow. It's been going on for 10 years.
Yeah, well, not the lawsuit. I mean, the technology. And really, if you want to go back to Bitcoin, it's been going on since what, 08? Because that was what the bottom of the market was March. Bitcoin came out in January, and then If you really want to go back, you can go all the way back to the 80s and look at all the e-money and all of this stuff and the cypherpunks. And I mean, this stuff is really kind of, literally goes back to the 80s.
Well, it just sounds like in your government that it's accelerating, and so maybe after 10 long years, they're going to have to finally decide on what they're doing and who
Well, yeah, their
regulates it.
hands getting forced. But, you know, when you're the strong man and you're not used to having your hand forced, you resist a little bit, right? And it's
Yeah, but
just that.
their hands never been forced this way. This is a big deal. This is not simple.
Yeah,
Well,
I
and
also
like
think
Vet said,
that
like Vet said, the whole world is not America. The rest of the world's moving on. Like the
And
hands.
and there have been many attempts at new ways of doing cross-border payments in other continents. It is not easy, and it's interesting. Like if this does prove to be easier and get money into people's hands, whether it's digital, that's a good thing. A lot of attempts have
I don't
failed.
think that
Some of them, like M-Pesa.
honestly,
I did an actual test with a guy who's been in these chats, who's working on something, and you know, I gave him my banking information and whatnot, and he actually put $1 into my bank account same day. Wasn't instant, but it showed up, right?
Just with your account number
Yeah, I mean, I gave
and
him my,
transit number.
I mean, I gave him my information,
Okay,
and
fair enough. Okay.
you know, so like as if I had signed up for an account. I mean, he doesn't have like a user interface yet,
Oh,
but
I see.
it's all backend stuff. But he can do that in like all these countries, and you know, it was one of the first tests he did. But like I'm telling you, the dollar showed up.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a standard test for a financial system, right? Just drop $1 and see if it gets in.
yeah, yeah. Hang on, someone wants to speak up, and who's got their hand up? Hang on a second.
It's Wolf.
Yeah, go for it, man. If you want to.
Yeah, thanks, Karma, for having me up and for holding the spaces on this Friday. I was just wondering, because I haven't done too much research into Flare, but is there any cool places where you guys can play around with testnet or something like that? Or yeah, for things I only know about the Flare.finance and haven't really tried it out really.
Karma.
I didn't understand the question. What was that?
I was just wondering where you guys play around with Flare and testing that out. If there was any cool testnet places or something.
Costin is the test net for Flare.
Yeah, I know that's not that for putting in and play around with it.
I'm still not sure what. Like, are you wanting the right contracts? I mean, then I would go to Songbird, and I mean,
No, I was just wondering if it was something, some places similar to the Flare.finance where you could like test out things like use it like a utility.
I mean, I've played around with Flare Finance. I think they're doing some pretty good work. I'm not sure exactly everything there, but I mean, there's multiple projects. Trustline is doing some stuff, but I think they got, anyway, I think they're not maybe doing as much stuff anymore.
Okay, then. I was just wondering if there was some other places than Flare.finance, but I guess that was it. So yeah, thanks.
Well, are you on the Discord for Flare?
Yeah, but my PC is broken at the moment these days, so it's stress to keep up with everything on my phone. So
Well, yeah, if you go there, you'll find all the whatever's projects, and And there's Flare community and
Yeah, cool. I'll check it out. Thanks, Karma.
yeah, no worries.
Also, Death Ranger has a channel on YouTube on Flare, so that'll be good to check out as well.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. And who's the other guy? Mickey B. Fresh. He does a lot of good stuff on the Flare network. There's a few folks out there that it's hard to, unless you're going to be able to sit down and read the white paper and understand all that. It's hard to, I mean, there's not that many people out there actually explaining this stuff. It's part of why we're doing this ledgerscale thing. Like there's got to be people out there that are helping us like regular folks understand. I mean, it's hard enough. Like, I mean, I don't really try to give myself credit, but I think I do have some clue about this stuff. And I've got a goofy background in terms of things I've done, information that I, but I still don't feel like I understand everything. I mean, I certainly don't. I know I don't. There's no way. So yeah, anyway. It's
If I had a PC, it would be a much different scenario. It's what's been pulling me back lately. But yeah.
I mean, well, whatever. If you I mean, you can virtualize a lot of things. There's entire companies that have their workforce virtualized, and the workforce doesn't even know that they don't have a computer. They just have an access point, and they think they got a computer.
What was that again? You said?
I don't know whoever had their hand raised a second ago. If you want to go for it, go for it.
That was
No,
Jerry.
I was just trying to see your opinion on this BlackRock and Coinbase deal here.
It makes sense to me. I mean, Coinbase is going to get bought out. Watch. They're going to get bought out by a big boy. But yeah, there's liquidity flow there. I mean, that's what an exchange is. BlackRock understands this stuff. This is a burgeoning industry. BlackRock understands that kind of stuff. It's the financial industry. BlackRock understands that kind of stuff. They're gonna distribute. Generally, the way it goes is they'll distribute, like we've already seen. I don't know what, a year or so ago, was it Fidelity or Bank of America, or I forget which one it was, but they were gonna first let their high net worth individuals have access to trading like Bitcoin and crypto, right? So they release it to the high net worth individuals, then they release it to the retail folks. Then the high net worth folks sell off and make a bundle for the retail folks. Then the market crashes and the retail folks eat it. And that's how the story goes. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's how it goes. Go back, and this isn't like a new thing. Like, go back over a couple hundred years, and you're going to see a similar distribution. I mean, look at okay, let's go into to regular securities. Okay, first you have your high net worth individuals, right? They get into the private equity. Well, you got to be accredited, so obviously you have to be high net worth, right? Then they take the company public and they sell it off to the retail folks. And then the high net worth individuals who got in when it was private equity, they make a bundle of money. And then maybe the market goes up, maybe the market goes down. Nobody cares. The early people already got their payout, right? There's liquidity. I mean, that's the point of the public market, is liquidity. So you got to create that liquidity. I mean, it's just how it goes. But yeah, basically BlackRock's going to start. They're at the high net worth individual stage of market development. Wait till you hit the retail stage. That'll be after regulations. Can't happen beforehand. But trust me, they're all there. You've got ICE, several years ago, and Fidelity at the same time, threw $1 billion on the table to build their own sort of market infrastructure for crypto. Like, these aren't screw around companies. These guys are not like here to play, dice or something. Like, they're setting up businesses that will continue on longer than probably anybody starting them will live. Yeah, like it's just, it takes time to build these industries. It's the idea, I think, is kind of bad, actually, and especially in the investor community, where people got used to, in the consumer internet, you could spin up like a Facebook, right, out of a dorm room, and then the thing explodes, and like, oh my goodness, right, all real quick. That's not going to happen in finance. It's not. It's just not. There's rules, there's regulations. This is more sophisticated. You can't screw it up. You just can't. If you screw it up, you're out of business, because now nobody trusts you and they leave. And you're done. You lost all your customers. Like, you just, it's a higher bar of difficulty. And because of that factor, it's going to just take a longer amount of time. And so these like tech investors that think they're going to invest in like some blockchain project and it's going to go through the roof in like 1.5 years, I mean, they're unrealistic. It's just unrealistic. It's going to take years. It's going to take a lot of lawyer fees. It's going to take more money. It's going to take more capital before you even get going. There's a guy that comes in here. See, I don't think he's in here at the moment, who's a regulatory consultant, and he was in here one time, and I never really thought about this, but he made a comment, and I was like, wow, I guess that makes sense. But basically, he was like, projects would come to him and say, hey, like, we need to be regulatory, have compliant, right? Like, can you help? Can we hire you as a consultant? And they would brag, which is cool, but they would brag, kind of, in a sense, that they had what they had built, and they're telling him like, here's how the system works and blah blah blah. And then he would ask him, well, like, have you done transactions, like cross-border stuff? And they would be like, yeah, the system works, we've got everything functioning, and it works. Um and then he would just be required to be to tell him, hey, I'm sorry, but like, we got into the conversation. I can't consult with you. You've already broken the law, right? You should have had your regulatory stuff done before you actually did transactions and conducted actual value transfer. And I wish you the best of luck, but I can't work with you. And I was like, wow, I didn't know it was like that. But I mean, it makes sense.
He had mentioned something about KYC as well.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to have all of this stuff. It's not. This is not a game that's going to be easy to play. I mean, this is a big, long-term game. It's not a quick consumer internet, photo sharing app like Facebook. This is a long-term, and it's in this entire crypto industry, it's still at the infrastructure stage of development. I mean, wait till we hit the dApps and all this stuff. Wait till you hit the application stage. That's when you're going to start seeing the quick money. That's the Facebooks of the world, right? The Facebook, Uber, Airbnb, none of this stuff got built without about 2-something plus decades of infrastructure being built that they then sat on top of. I mean, think of, and this is one of the reasons I actually like, my brother hates him, but I like, what's the Amazon guy? Bezos, because he gives credit and he's like, look, man, I couldn't have built Amazon if it weren't for all the infrastructure of the internet, the postal service, right? Like he's sitting his Amazon as a company. Now they've gone down the, if you look at like vertical integration, they've gone down the chain, which is a bit of an aggressive business move strategically. But anyway, in the beginning, like you couldn't have had Amazon if it weren't for the post office. I mean, how would you deliver the book? You gonna drive across the country and hand it to the guy? I mean, you just couldn't do it. So he gives credit to all this infrastructure that was there that enabled him to build his business. And actually, in essence, his purpose for his space thing is he's trying to actually return the favor to the world, if you will. And he wants to build this infrastructure so that, in 20 years, some kid in a dorm can create a space startup. And the infrastructure is there. But infrastructure build out usually takes, roughly 20 something years. We're only 10 years or so into this. And it's actually been quite impressive how explosive it's been in just the first 10 years.
Where is Egyptian?
Oh, I don't know. Pretty sure he's in California. Actually, he messaged earlier. He's probably busy.
So you are from Florida, Karma? I had a aquarium, and before I had some freshwater fish, the Florida gar, the alligator gars. It's heavy fish. Have you been fishing those before?
I've caught they make bubbles on the water. And they can get pretty big. And dude, they got teeth. Dude, pulling the hook out of them things is you better be careful. They got real serious teeth.
Yeah, I know they can get almost up to a meter or something. They have insane teeth.
I mean, I've seen them probably around a meter. Normally probably maybe like half, 2/3 of a meter. Or smaller.
Karma, you know meter?
Yeah.
Because Americans usually like foot, right?
Well, I mean, yeah. No, actually, the metric system is far superior to the standard system. I don't understand why it's a switching cost. There's a technical term for that. Switching cost. That's the only reason I don't understand why we haven't switched over to the metric system. I mean, it just makes more sense. It does. But whatever. But yeah, no, the GAR, and they come and they pool up, and school up. Well, I've caught a few of them. They're no good though. You just throw them back. They're full of bones. There's no sense in trying to eat it. It's you just throw them back. It's kind of annoying when you catch one.
Yeah, but I bet it's insane to have on the fishing pool. It's like quite a battle, I guess.
Yeah, they're not like a, some fish will like run. They're one of those. Some fish will I don't know, they kind of don't put up much of a fight. But like them and like say jacks will pompanos, ladyfish. I actually caught a sailfish the first time I went offshore about a year ago. These fish run, dude. I mean, and the gar don't, but like a ladyfish or a like a wahoo, or not the wahoo, the sailfish, like they jump, or a tarpon, they jump and try and throw the hook, and it's pretty cool actually. But like none of those fish do you actually eat. So if I'm going fishing, it's because I want to have a fresh fish sandwich. So I don't fish for them kind of things. If I'm gonna catch something, I'm gonna eat it. Yeah.
Which one do you like the most? Like which sort of?
That depends. I mean, there's a bunch that you can usually just walk down to the beach and catch a whiting. It's just kind of a plain white fish, white meat. And they're usually there. All you need is a little chunk of shrimp. You if you put a whole shrimp on there, it's too big. They're maybe about a foot long. Um, um, that's easy. I mean, pompano are good when they're running, but they're seasonal. Mullet, but I got to get another smoker. My smoker rusted out, because you want to smoke the mullet. I mean, you can fry them too, but I don't eat a lot of fried food as a general rule. So I prefer them smoked. You got the reds when they're running. There's trout. Uh, I don't know, man. All kinds of stuff. Whatever you catch. Jacks. Jacks aren't the best. They're really fun to catch because they do fight like hell. And but they're not. It's a little tougher meat. So I cut them up and I cube them up, and then I'll like to do like a air fryer. Throw them in make like fish bites. I don't know, flounder. They're really good. I mean, most of the restaurants will have grouper, mahi, and that kind of stuff. But if I'm going fishing, I'm not going to catch a grouper, right? Like, I mean, you can catch them around here, but you really got to hunt for them.
So it's river fish you're fishing, or is it saltwater, or what's the best fish you said? Where did you get to catch those?
Yeah. No, it's all saltwater. Freshwater, I mean, basically you got what? Bass, perch. I haven't done a whole lot of freshwater fishing. My grandparents had a house on a small lake. I mean, it wasn't that small, but small lake. And yeah, basically bass and perch were the only things we ever did. And turtles, you catch some turtles. I always wanted to make turtle stew. Never did. I always just let them go. But they're aggressive little bastards, believe it or not. A turtle. You think of a turtle as like a slow thing. No, man. They'll come after you. They'll come after your bait. They're not easy to unhook. They're aggressive.
But how are they? How is the taste of those? I never heard about people eating them actually.
I've actually never cooked one. like I just said, we just let them go. My grandfather, when they were growing up, they ate turtles. You make turtle stew apparently, but I don't know how to make it. I've never made it. I've never eaten it. I always kind of wanted to, but we never. And like back when he was growing up, there weren't like rules against this kind of thing. When the sea turtles, there's not as many these days, when they would come up to the beach, they lay their eggs, right? Well, they go into like a trance. So they don't even know you're there. I mean, you can go like knock on their head and there's like nobody home, basically. And so they're laying there, they dig the hole and they're laying the eggs, and you can just catch the eggs, and they're round, they're like a golf ball. And I've never eaten one of them either, but apparently they're very sweet. So they're kind of a delicacy. But this turtle survival rate is such a low percentage. Gosh, you need as many out there as you can just to, so like, I mean, it's like 1 or 2% make it to full size adulthood. They get eaten. The bass love them. I mean, there's so many fish that just love them. Like they just get eaten, and they're just little. I mean, when they come out, they're only the size of your palm when they come out of the egg. The birds get them, believe it or not. Like these poor little turtles, they just cracked open an egg, dug out of a hole. They're trying to get to the ocean, and a bird comes along and eats it. I mean, the thing wasn't alive for more than a minute, and it's gone. But that's what happens.
Hello, everybody. Sounds like I just hopped into Karma's National Geographic channel.
Yeah.
How you guys doing, man? How's you guys' day so far?
Chilling, chilling. What about you, man?
All good. I just was on the farm. Now leaving. Now leaving.
Doing good also. Thanks for asking. I'm in Norway. Trying to make the best out of the Friday. And you? Everything good?
Loving Friday.
I know my girl's excited because last weekend she had to work to cover one of the doctors, and so she's on like almost like a 2 week every single day streak. She's definitely happy it's Friday. Promise you that.
Oh, that's hustling. That's some hours.
Well, I mean, some of it is like on call type stuff, and so she didn't necessarily have to go to the hospital, but still, you got to be there. You got to be like when the phone rings, you got to do the thing.
I'm sure you guys already seen what that article with Senator Loomis on top the front. What do you guys think about that? About the SEC going after all exchanges?
Yeah, we've talked about this how many times in here? You know what the E in SEC stands for? Exchange.
Right?
It's the Securities and Exchange Commission. I mean, they want to call the crypto assets securities. They want to call the exchanges exchanges. Where they could run into some trouble is if the assets being traded on these platforms are not securities, then they're not running an exchange. In which case the SEC would likely not have much jurisdictional oversight. So that's one of the reasons I think they're fighting so hard to have these things be securities, because if you've got like a Coinbase and they're not trading any securities because none of this stuff's just all like commodities, well then Coinbase is not an exchange. Like the SEC does not govern like the CBOE. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. CBOE is a commodities market. It's a completely different thing. So yeah, I mean, there's some of this stuff. I mean, it really does matter how it unfolds and how these decisions and lawsuits and arguments, come about, or how they resolve. I guess they will resolve though. I actually kind of see the SEC in a little bit of a weak and perilous position. If you corner an animal, right, that's when it gets the most vicious. But at that point, it's already cornered. The SEC is getting vicious. Okay, so in some sense, I could back into saying, well, maybe they're cornered, and they're kind of fighting for, their backs against the wall, and they don't, they don't even. I mean, look at the Ripple case. They've changed their argument how many times? Like this isn't like the way a attorney. You don't. I mean, normally a good attorney, like you're gonna put together your logic, right, of your case, and you're gonna freaking stick to it, and that's your argument. You don't change your argument 2 or 3, 4 times. That's what a cornered animal does. First they try to bark, then they try to bite, then they try to jump, then they try to run, then they try to something. They keep changing their strategy. Like this is and I mean really, and they sent that poor lady out there who was a junior attorney in that last hearing where the judge made them all show up in person. And I mean, I felt bad for her. I felt like she got thrown to the wolves. I mean, the Ripple legal team hardly said a word. And the judge was just kind of grilling this poor lady. And here she is, a junior attorney. Why would you send a junior attorney into such a significant case, first off? How does that make any sense? Seriously. Like my mother taught me when I was young, whether it's a CPA, an attorney, or whatever, when you're buying professional developer in computer science land, when you're hiring professional services, you get the best. Pay the extra money. Like a developer that sucks is going to actually end up costing you more money because they're going to take longer to write the code, so you're paying for more hours. There's going to be more code, which is more opportunity for problems, right? Versus if you get like the best guy that you can find, he's going to get it done in less time because he understands things. He's going to develop the logic in a way that requires less code, so there's less problems, or less even potential for problems. Not that there might still be a problem, you never know. But it's like the SEC is just not looking good here. I mean, they really are behaving like a cornered animal, trying to defend itself.
Carm, I have a question for you, or whoever can answer it
Yeah.
in the speakers. Didn't Ripple provide the SEC with some kind of guideline to how they should approach regulating crypto? About a year ago, I think they released a document.
I don't know about that. I know they had the Ethereum people provide them some guidelines back in the day, but I don't. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Like, but no, I've not. I don't have knowledge of that. I don't know.
I really want to see how the markets react when the SEC starts really going after these exchanges and actually start sending subpoenas and everything like that. And then Ripple at the end of the day wins their case. I really want to see how the markets react to that. Because at the moment,
Well, one of
I think the SEC is going after almost every U.S. based exchange.
one of the things, and you want to get right back to the heart of, say, Satoshi's vision, right? And like the heart of decentralization in crypto, the DEX cannot be shut down by the SEC. These other networks that have to go, they force their users just because they don't have the functionality of a exchange, of a DEX. They have to go through centralized exchanges, right? This is one of these things. It's just what it is. Now on Ethereum, you could have AMMs and stuff. They're not exactly a DEX. It's kind of like a DEX light, because you only have one pair, although you can have a bunch of pairs, but then, stringing them together, like we were talking about pathfinding earlier with whoever that guy was. Yeah, like that's a whole different like ball game. But yeah, I mean, they can shut down like a Coinbase. It's a centralized exchange. They can't shut down the DEX on the XRP ledger. There's no way. I mean, the other countries don't, like, America's over here screwing around. The rest of the world's moving on. Just what it is. I mean, I, this is why this is, yeah, that's why I think the SEC's kind of stuck in a corner with their back against the wall, and they're going for whatever they can, but they're not even really sure how to go for it. That's why they keep changing their arguments and stuff.
So, Karma, I found that article I was telling you about. I'm going to post it to the top, but it was published November 16th, 2021. So, not even a year ago. And its title is A Real Approach to Cryptocurrency Regulations. I'm not going to go into depth, but I'll post it on the top so that you can see that they kind of laid out a framework while they were getting sued by the SEC. It's hysterical.
Well, send me, if you don't mind, either send me a DM or just tag me on the thing, because I won't see it after this chat, and I'm probably leaving the house when we're done, which is going to be here shortly. So yeah, tag me
I
or
can give you, hey, Karma, I can give you an update on that.
nope, sorry, I didn't mean to mute everybody. Did somebody have their hand up just a second ago?
I was gonna give you a little update on the Mount Gox rehabilitation. So you know how there's news about people saying that there's gonna be a massive dump. They don't, yeah, don't believe that. So trustees like I myself, we have a choice on how we want to get paid. It, yeah, we have to go through something called repayments rehabilitation trustee permissions, which is going to go through the court as well. But we have a choice to get paid an early lump sum. Preferred method could be in repayments in cash, or we could use Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin. But the end of August is where they're gonna stop stop receiving claims for those trustees to be able to get paid back. So that's the August end of this year.
Oh, geez.
So some people can wait, is probably going to be waiting till 2023 to actually get their funds, and depending how they choose how they get it. So it is really up in the air. So if anybody's hearing about massive dump, that can play out, but I highly doubt it, as a lot of people won't get their whole thing back, and it's going to be in a way probably where it's going to be broken down into payments,
Well,
because they can choose to get a lump sum, an early lump sum, which would be less than what they would get fully if they chose to do the early lump sum.
yeah, that's your finance guy. He's behind that, whoever that is. That's interesting. So I don't know, man. It's kind of similar to like with the lottery. You can either get a lump sum or they'll pay you like a little bit of money forever, basically. And
Exactly.
it's hard to I would probably tend to take the lump sum, but I'm not sure that would be the best for most. I feel comfortable and confident managing a lump sum, and I would probably get a higher return than you could back the math out and look at what sort of interest rate they're basing the payments on. If you can earn more than that interest rate, then you're going to do better taking a lump sum. Yeah. I mean, at least people are getting something, but it's still.
Hell yeah, man. It's been freaking years.
Oh, it's a terrible story. It's like the Madoff thing. Seriously, like it's a terrible, terrible. That's what I was just saying a minute ago. When you're looking at these fintech companies from an investor point of view, you can't. There's going to be more money invested up front. It's going to take a longer time frame to pay out. You're going to have a lot more lawyers hanging around. You're going to have, folks like me and developers hanging around that are expensive. Like this is not the same thing as standing up like a photo sharing app or an app to like a dating app or an app like an Airbnb. Like these are not; those are way easier. They can go. The businesses can grow faster. This financial stuff's not just not the same ball game. I think you could make a whole hell of a lot more money in the financial aspect of things, but there's a reason pretty much all of Silicon Valley's been chasing payments for what, 20 years? And let's go all the way back to PayPal, right? And look at how much money those guys made and what they've done afterwards. Look at Bitcoin. There's not a lot, but there's a few people that have made a lot of money.
Elon is one of them that made a lot of money on PayPal.
Oh, yeah. All of them. And they're all still, what's the other guy's name? I'm pretty sure I
And that's
talked to
why I
him.
laugh when I hear some comments about Elon not knowing the financial world. I was like, this motherfucker built PayPal. Help build PayPal, people. Come on. I laugh. I see that comment. I'm like, man.
And you got Peter Thiel, and you got Max Levchin, you got the rest of them. And Levchin's got a firm. I don't know if you know about a firm.
Yes.
It's like a company.
A firm where which is the partnership with Walmart, where have people that can use the Affirm platform to buy like pay on payments, take a loan out kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a classic finance thing. It's a credit provisioning service. But it uses social data instead of like your credit score. right? And there's crazy things like if you there's crazy things that are statistically relevant, actually. This is what like some of the AI machine learning stuff uncovers, because you would never ask this question, right? Like if I'm going to offer you a loan, the last thing I would ever ask you or think to ask you is how what's your battery life? Is your battery on your phone? What's the percentage charge? Right? But actually, people whose batteries die and get way low are less creditworthy, believe it or not, than people who keep their phones charged. It's a like the math pans out. So you're not really legally allowed to do some of that stuff, but somehow or another they do it through a firm. And it's not illegal. China does all the same stuff, but they don't, they can do whatever the hell they want, right? We actually have laws. So, except for crypto. but yeah. You wouldn't believe like what the stuff that I mean, all those guys, anybody that thinks they don't understand this stuff is crazy. This is why I have a hard time understanding, what did Elon Musk got all up about which one? Dogecoin. Um what the hell? What are you talking about? You know better than that. I mean, and then he was doing the BTC stuff, and I was like, come on, man. Your whole gig, all of your company, well, except for SpaceX, all of your companies are about reducing like carbon footprint and like being more energy efficient. Like, what? And and he knows better. There's not a moment in time where I thought he didn't know better. And I mean, if anybody in here, like I'm nobody, if anybody in here knows this stuff, the idea that he doesn't is sort of weird. It seems unrealistic. I mean,
Ain't it weird? Because
and I
his friend is Peter Thiel, who is a big investor in Ripple back in them days too.
oh yeah, oh yeah, and I have a friend that she lives out in San Francisco. She's like an executive at a large, you'd know the company, and I don't know what 3-ish years ago, because I had been telling her about what was going on here with like XRP and Ripple and Internet of Value, yada yada, crypto, and um, a couple of years ago, she told me, she's like, she kind of ignored me for a few years, and then we were talking another time, and she goes, "Man, you know what? Everybody in the valley is like trying to get a job at Ripple. Like that's the place to go get a job. Like it's the." And I was like, "Well, I told you, like, yeah, like this is a situation. Like this is a serious. There's there's real value creation occurring. Uh, it makes sense. Um, it involves network. I mean, it's all the stuff. I mean, in Silicon Valley, and I don't care which company, all of them, all of them. I mean, look, you got Apple Pay, Google Pay, all of them have been chasing this payment space for at least 15 to 20 years. So every single one of them has made multi-million dollar investments in this stuff. And a lot of that money is never going to pay out, right? It's just, I don't know, call it R&D. But they all understand. What's up in my crypto? Did that? I tried to let you speak up earlier. It didn't pop up. Anyway, well, I think it's time to end it. We're at time. So just anyway, thanks for joining. If you haven't followed us, please do. On YouTube too as well. We're at ledgerscale here, obviously on Twitter. This is not financial advice, and the speakers here are not representing ledgerscale, but we do appreciate your participation and questions, and I look forward to continued conversations. Yeah, there's some, if you want to donate, there's some addresses currently on the ledgerscale account. I think they're pinned to the top. That works. For now anyway. We'll figure the rest of it out later. And yeah, unless anybody else has like one last question in my crypto, I see you just popped up. If you got one last question, then we can do that, and then